my name is Braden Walters. I'll be your host for this session, and it's also my pleasure to present to you Assistant Director of Admissions for the Columbia School of Business, Josie Landers. Josie's going to provide us with a quick overview of their full-time MBA program, along with critical info that we all need to know when applying there. We're fortunate to have such an awesome business school, so let's make the most of our time here. Without further ado, let's pass the mic to Josie and learn more about what makes Columbia Business School so amazing.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Brayden. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today. I look forward to chatting with all of you about the offerings of our MBA program at Columbia Business School. We do have some other degree options, and I'm happy to chat about those too. But this is going to really hone in more on that full-time MBA. At Columbia Business School, we moved to our Manhattanville campus, which is about 10 to 15 blocks above the Morningside campus a few years ago. And with that move, our dean, Dr. Kostas Maglaris, wanted to focus in on some initiatives, kind of refreshing our priorities. And some of those initiatives include entrepreneurship, digital transformation, and we have a huge focus on climate and sustainability as well. You'll see all of these priorities woven into the curriculum offerings we have at Columbia Business School, the clubs and careers that our students and our alumni pursue. So we really see that put into practice through our students and our alumni. At Columbia Business School, we have two main entry points for our full-time MBA. So we have that traditional August entry, that's that 2-year program. We usually see about 700 or so students matriculate in August. And through that August entry, they complete their core curriculum in the fall. Then they do a mix of core and electives in the spring. Then our students complete a full-time internship during the summer. Then they come back to us in the fall, complete a year of electives, and then graduate in the spring. And so with that option, it's a really great, opportunity for students who are looking to make some kind of pivot or switch in their career because they can use that internship as a springboard into next steps. Something that's really unique to CBS is we also have a January entry option. So that's still that full-time MBA, but on a condensed schedule. So only 16 months instead of the usual 20. The students come to us in the spring, they complete their core. Then instead of doing that full-time internship during the summer, they continue their coursework, do that mix of core and electives. They merge with the August cohort in the fall, do a full year of electives together, and they graduate side by side in the spring. We usually see about 200 or so students in our January entry, and this is a particularly strong option for students who are looking to maybe return to the same firm that they're coming from, continue on in the same industry that they're coming from, advance in their careers in that industry. So we see a lot of sponsored consultants, we see a lot of family business backgrounds, and also a lot of entrepreneurs in our January entry who are looking to get started on their ventures without the opportunity cost of some months off. Either way, if you matriculate in August or in January, it's the same curriculum, it's the same degree, and you graduate side by side. I also want to provide a high-level outline of our curriculum. So this is what you would start off your time at Columbia Business School with. This is a high-level look at our core curriculum. This mainly is in that first semester. There is one class that is in the second semester. But after that first semester, you have a lot of flexibility to choose whichever electives you would like. We have, over 200 electives, and they really range in industry area and academic focus. And we want to give our students the flexibility to take whatever interests them. Do not silo yourselves, but you all start off with this core curriculum to give you that fundamental expertise, and it also puts you into a cluster. So you have around 70 students that you start your MBA with, and you take your entire core curriculum with that home base of a cluster. Now we do have curriculum pathways. This is something we introduced recently, and there's 17 pathways. These are suggested roadmaps, electives that would fall under certain focus areas to continue developing yourself professionally in one of these areas. However, like I said, we really emphasize flexibility and diversifying your skill set. So you don't have to take a certain amount of credits in any of these pathways to graduate. We recommend you pick and choose and just use these pathways as a guide as you explore your elective offerings. We are also proud to have over 75 student organizations on campus. Our students are really engaged individuals in the CBS community. Our organizations typically fall into three main groups, I'd say. The first is going to be that professional. These are integral to the recruiting process. Our professional clubs really walk students through what the recruiting process of those industries are going to be like. They offer networking opportunities, professional mentoring, and the alumni are also heavily involved and come for speaker events and mentoring sessions. And this is just a small sample of our professional clubs. There are many, many on campus. We also have quite a few affinity groups on campus. Again, this is a small sample. Affinity groups are a mix, I'd say, of professional and social in nature. They also offer different professional networking and development opportunities for our students. Probably would say Columbia Women in Business is our biggest affinity group on campus, but we are really lucky to have many wonderful groups like the Black Business Student Association, the Hispanic Business Association, the Veterans Club, Latin American Business Association, which is often called LABA, and many, many more. So there are really wonderful opportunities to get involved. And then finally, I'd say the other category is social clubs. So these are ways to connect with your peers in interests maybe outside of the professional. Many different opportunities on campus. I think the Gourmet Club might be the most popular, lots of gourmet opportunities in New York City, but also many to choose from. And I would say that students are involved in about 5 clubs on average, with leadership position at least one. But it's kind of a form your own adventure, choose what interests you. And students come from really different professional backgrounds and professional interests, and that really informs what they get involved with on campus. Outside of campus, too, I do want to highlight that we're a really global business school. Our alumni, cover cities all over the world and are 52,000 people large. And so our alumni are really involved throughout the entire life cycle of the MBA experience. They interview applicants during the admissions period. They mentor students while they're matriculated into school. And then they welcome our graduates with open arms into our alumni clubs once they graduate, and those are lifelong connections. I'd also say that our alumni have lifelong access to our career services too. That's a particular benefit. Now, I know a lot of you today are probably focused more on the admission side, getting excited about submitting your application, looking at your timelines, what that's going to look like, and asking yourselves, what are admissions committees looking for? I'd say we review on a holistic review, which I know many admissions committees throw that word around. But really, we want to see who you are authentically and how an MBA is going to transform both you personally and professionally. But if I'd say what we're looking for, it's going to be 3 main buckets. And that first bucket is going to be that academic history. So we want to see how you performed in your undergraduate career. We want to know what you majored in, what classes you took, how you challenged yourself. So we'll look at your transcript, and we'll also look at a graduate transcript if you have one. And then we also want to look at a standardized test score. We take the GMAT, the GRE, and the executive assessment. We don't have a preference between any of those tests, but we want you to perform to the best of your academic ability. So we recommend taking the one that's best for you. And together, those help give us an understanding of your preparedness for the academic rigor of the classroom. We also care deeply about your professional promise, as this is a business school. So we want to take a look at your professional resume, see what you've been up to since the years that you graduated, what kind of impact you've made in the workplace, how you've developed yourself professionally. And we also want to know what your short-term and long-term goals are professionally. And so that will be focused more on the essays portion, which I'll talk about in a second. But that also clues us into your MBA why, right? And then I'd also say we want to look at the letter of recommendation. So typically this is from a direct supervisor who is kind of the the element of the application that's maybe most out of your control. It's someone sharing an outside perspective on who you are, how you show up in the workplace. Now, I do know that a short or a direct supervisor is not always a possibility for a letter of recommendation. Maybe you are an entrepreneur, so you don't have a supervisor. Maybe it's a family business. Maybe you just changed positions and you don't feel your direct supervisor knows you as well. In that case, I'd say someone who knows you in a professional capacity and can speak to you the best. So maybe a past direct supervisor, maybe a client, but it really should be someone who can speak to your professional abilities. And then for that last bucket, I also want to highlight personal characteristics. We want to know who you are as an individual, what you're passionate about, what you care about. Those often show up in the communities that you're involved with and the activities you engage in. So looking at extracurriculars in your undergrad or in your post-grad life. I'd say that essays 2 and 3 are also more behavioral, so we get a sense of who you are from that as well. Say we really get to know who you are through the interview. The interview is by invitation only, and we do conduct all of our interviews over Zoom, so no worries about traveling. This is a chance for you to share why you're pursuing an MBA, why Columbia Business School is going to be a great fit for you, and to engage in a dialogue with a member of the Columbia community. So the interview is likely going to be conducted by one of 3 parties. It could be an assistant director or admissions officer like myself. It may be a second-year student who's one of our student ambassadors, or most likely will be an alumnus of our program. So we ask for a few short answer questions, and these are 50 characters maximum, so really it's in essence like a tweet. And this is going to differ depending on if you're applying for the January or the August term. The January is going to ask, what are you looking to do right after you graduate from your MBA? And then why is January entry a right fit for you? For the August, it's again going to be what you're hoping to do after you graduate from the MBA. And then the other question is what you're hoping to do for that full-time internship during the summer. For our essay questions, we start off with a 500-word essay on your short-term and long-term goals. So we want to know, what you're hoping to do after you graduate, what you're hoping to do in the long term. And, a tidbit from me, I guess, is how does the MBA factor into that? How does it propel you into those next steps? The second essay is a little bit shorter. It's only 250 words, and it's about a specific time that you made a team more collaborative and more inclusive. We want to just see how that shows up in your life. It can be a professional instance or a personal, snapshot example is what we're looking for. And then the third essay is usually my favorite to read. It's based on the idea that an MBA can look really different from person to person, right? You're all coming in with really different professional backgrounds and different goals, different life histories. And so what you choose to take advantage of and what you bring to the MBA experience is going to look really different person to person. We want to know what is going to be your optimal MBA experience at Columbia Business School. So what are you, hoping to maybe a class you're going to take or an organization you want to join. Really, we want to know what hopefully your experience at CBS is going to look like. So we have recently opened our January entry application. So we review January entry on a rolling basis. These deadlines are more to give a sense of when you might hear back about final decisions to kind of give that timeline. But our final deadline, the true deadline, is going to be that August 13th that we will close our January entry application at that point. I recommend applying when you feel that your application materials are most ready. There is an advantage to applying earlier in the summer, but I always recommend applying when you feel that everything is together and you're most prepared. So we'll have that application open all summer. For August entry, we review on a rounds basis to be in line with our peer schools. So we have 3 rounds. That first round is going to be September 3rd. and you would expect to hear a final decision back by December 15th. Our round two is going to be due January 6th, and we will have final decisions out by March 31st. And then our third round is going to be due March 26th, and we will have all decisions out by May 20th. I do also want to note that if you want to be considered for merit fellowships, which there's no extra requirement to be considered, just submitting the application will automatically enter you in for review. We will be putting priority considerations to round one and round two. So that's something I do want to highlight, as all of you are probably planning your schedule for the upcoming year. Also want to add that we are a proud member of the Consortium for Graduate Study and Management. So this is a third-party organization that, has a mission to increase inclusivity, both in graduate education, but also in business leadership. They have an application that's kind of like the Common App for undergrad, which is that one application that gets sent to multiple schools. If you're interested in their mission as well as that application, I recommend taking a look at their website. They have two deadlines. It's going to be October 15th and January 5th. And we also review applications sent in through the consortium. All right, that is a quick overview of our full-time MBA, but I'm happy to answer any questions that people have.
Right. Hooray. Thank you so much for that awesome information, Josie. So we'll start with the most upvoted question, and it might kind of be a recap over the presentation. So how does an ideal candidate look like for Columbia is the question.
Great question. I'd say that no application looks the same, which is something I particularly like about being in this role and working for an MBA program. Like I said earlier, everyone is coming in with really different backgrounds and goals, citizenships, and, different life stories. But I would say that maybe common themes I see throughout the process and something that we are trying to foster in the classroom environment is our students are really bright, they're really motivated, and they're really engaged. We really want to make sure that our students are going to be showing up in both the classroom and outside of the classroom. We want them to be engaged community members. So that can look like a lot of different things. Maybe you're involved in a group in your workplace, or maybe you were the president of your trivia team in undergrad. Whatever it is, we are interested in what you're passionate about, and we just want you to bring that passion to Columbia Business School as well.
Awesome. I love it. I definitely would not be the president of any trivia team. I would be good for about one question, probably at trivia night, and that'd be it. Thank you. So, on to the next question. Given the current uncertainties surrounding visa policies and OPT availability, could you share what steps the school is taking to support international students, particularly in preparing for and mitigating potential challenges?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. So thank you for bringing that up. I would say that our administration is following, changes in visa requirements and visa policies very closely. We have an office called the International Students and Scholars Office that is specifically designed to support our international students, and they are keeping close tabs on changes in our policies. Right now, we don't anticipate that students will be delayed in matriculating. We are continuing on with the normal schedule. However, if we see that students are, making efforts to get visa appointments and coming up with some serious challenges, we will work with students one-on-one. So we are still very proud to have a large international population at Columbia Business School. It's a very global business school, and we think that the classroom really, benefits from a global perspective. So we will be supporting students one-on-one through that process.
Thank you so much. On to the next question. What is the minimum work experience required to apply? You might have touched on this a little bit, but.
No, this is a great question. And I know one that kind of differs from school to school. At CBS, we don't have a minimum work experience required, so there's no minimum or maximum. However, I will say that for our full-time program, most applicants have somewhere between, 3 and 8. Again, that's not a hard, range. I've seen students with less and with more. But I also would like to highlight if you have, about 10 years of work experience, we also have an executive MBA program where most folks have more of that leadership experience. And we have a few different models for that too.
All right, hooray. I got a fun one that came through from Aram. I'm going to apologize if I pronounce any names incorrectly, but it's for students in the Value Investing Program, or CSIMA. How much access do you really get to mentorship from top industry professionals? And are those relationships typically formal via events or informal one-on-one coffee chats, alumni outreach?
Great question. So yeah, our value investing program is a really popular and sought after opportunity. It is through an application process. So first years will apply to be part of it during their second year, and it involves a thesis through our Heilbronn Center for Value Investing. And so that's a really great opportunity to, one, develop research in that in your financial interest, and two, mentor and make strong network connections with people in financial services. You don't also have to be in the value investing program to benefit from the resources from Heilbronn Center. You can be in our Columbia Investment Management Association, CIMA, as Braden mentioned. And there's lots of different informal and formal opportunities. So on the formal sense, they organize lots of different networking opportunities, both on campus and off campus. They also do a trek to Nebraska each year where, yes, to meet, with other financial services at that, big event that happens there. There's a really strong connection with Wall Street given our location in New York City. So lots of different meetings on office spaces as well. I would highlight though that due to the nature of this industry, there's also a lot of informal networking that happens. So students make connections through CIMA to do coffee chats with different alumni, and they really forge a lot of connections in this sense as well.
Very cool. I love it. Thank you. Got some great questions, guys. Keep them coming. So, coming from Maura, I'm interested in exploring the role at the intersection of climate and technology. I'd love to hear more about CBS's climate and sustainability focus. Could you share more about the resources, professors, or in-semester opportunities in New York City that CBS supports that would help me with this pivot?
Absolutely. Lots of different resources for the intersection of climate and tech, and I probably will first recommend the course Climate Tech. That's going to be a good one for you. We are, adding new electives to our climate pathway each semester, and you also take classes through Columbia's climate school. Those will count as electives as well. I would also recommend becoming a member of our Green Business Club. They have a lot of different professional networking opportunities and a big conference that they put on. I also think a cool opportunity is that they participate in the UN's Climate Week, and they participate in a case competition. So they get to compete with different organizations around the world, and that's housed here in New York City. And there's a lot of different opportunities to advance your tech skills as well. So combine those interests. I would particularly recommend taking courses from Professor Bruce Usher. He has a lot of important research in that field that's, continuing to shape the business world as we know it.
All right, very cool. Love it. Thank you so much. Moving on to the topic of AI from Nelson now. So I would also like to know how developments in AI are affecting the recruitments at the university, and how is the university adjusting to recent developments in AI?
Great question, and it is the hot topic. I would say that AI has been a really big focus on creating new professional opportunities for our students in AI. We now have an AI club, and we have a data analytics and AI curriculum pathway. In terms of recruitment and admissions, I can say that we do not use AI in the admissions office. So your applications are read by real people and multiple parties within the admissions office. So the admissions process would only really include AI in the sense of maybe if you have an interest in AI professionally, that would come up in the interview or in your essays, but we do not allow AI either in the review process or in your essays. However, We know that this is a burgeoning market, and we want our students to be well equipped with the technical skills in generative AI. So we have more and more classes focused around this topic. We're also incorporating AI into the classroom in maybe not so, classes not so much focused in AI. Like I know that there's a negotiation class where they compete against AI in front of the classroom. But if you want to build upon your technical experience and build a professional network that's AI focused, have an AI club and the resources, professional resources to support you there.
Awesome. Super cool. Super fun. All right. Moving on, we have an anonymous user who said, could you give some information about the deferred MBA program for college seniors?
Absolutely. Yeah, our deferred enrollment program is a really great opportunity for students who are in their final year of their undergraduate degree or a graduate degree that they went directly into from undergrad to apply to Columbia Business School. They know that they want to get an MBA in the future. If they're offered admission, they then go and work for 2 to 5 years and then matriculate into the MBA whenever they're ready, whenever they feel now is the time. So that way, you take, the tests kind of when you're already in that test taking mode as a student. You get to have the application fee waived as a student, as a full-time student, and you have that next steps, secured. It's under your belt while you can kind of take risks in your career and develop yourself professionally over those next 2 to 5 years. And I think that that experience really educates your perspective in the MBA classroom when you do matriculate.
Super cool. Love it. Moving on to the next question. Kyle Bremer says, who are some of Columbia's top employers intern offerers for those focused on product management? And maybe we could even expand on other areas if you'd like as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of product management, I'd say that a lot of the big tech companies are major employers of our MBA graduates. So, Google's a top employer, Microsoft's a top employer. Recently, TikTok and YouTube have become big employers as well. And then I would say, in general, our biggest employers often are, they change year to year, and I would look at employment reports if you want the exact data depending on the year. But typically, our biggest employers are McKinsey, Bain, BCG, as well as other major banks. So, oh, no, I forgot Deloitte for the consulting ones as well. But UBS, IBM, lots of other big institutions.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Another fun one from Eric Kane. How strong is on-campus culture and interaction with extracurricular activities with Columbia being in the city?
Good question. And I think that's something that a lot of students, are unsure about or unsure of what the campus culture is like. And so if you have the opportunity to visit campus, I really recommend it. You can see it in action and meet with students and hear their perspective. But from what I see on campus, being involved is super important, and all the students that I meet with are really involved on campus. A typical day, I'd say, what it looks like is maybe you have a couple classes in the morning, you have lunch, during the lunch period, clubs often meet. So then you would have a club meeting at that same time. Maybe you have a class in the afternoon, or maybe you do a study group with your peers. And then students will either go to a networking event for a club, or they will go to a Knicks game together, or go and enjoy like New York scene as well. I think that being in New York is a really important part of the experience, and there's so much to take advantage of while you're here. And Columbia also makes a concerted effort to provide more opportunities, so discounted tickets to Broadway shows, and you have free museum access being a Columbia student. There's lots of things to do in New York, and our students, from what I can tell, often do them together.
Super fun. I think I'd only be able to go to a Knicks game if they were playing the Pistons, and I probably wouldn't walk away super happy to be honest, but that's okay.
We're having a good year, but it's been a tough couple weeks actually.
Uh, Hooray. All right, so from an anonymous attendee, does Columbia accept students with a 1-year MBA equivalent degree internationally and want to do a second MBA?
So I would say that if you already have an MBA, I would ask yourself what is different about this experience. We want to make sure that the MBA is going to be the right investment for all of our students, right? It is a huge investment. It's an investment of time, of effort, of tuition dollars. And we want to make sure that this is going to be the next step for you to catapult into your next goals. So if you have a graduate degree that's pretty similar to an MBA, that could also be a really helpful advantage to yourself of it maybe informs why you know what's next and what you want to achieve. But we also don't want it to be redundant. So if you already have an MBA, I would just ask yourself what is going to be different about the experience and maybe reflect on that and talk about it in the optional essay too.
Very cool. From Sean, I don't think we've taken this one yet. How does CBS view applicants with an engineering background, and how feasible is a career switch into investment banking? And I would say we could even expand off of anyone maybe who's looking to make a career switch through Columbia University.
Totally. I would say that we see a lot of students with backgrounds that are not maybe obviously similar to what the next step is. I'd say I see a lot of pivots from engineering into finance. You already have a lot of that quantitative skill set, and now you're, looking to build the financial acumen to be able to make that pivot. So that is absolutely feasible. I would also say that a lot of times the MBA's purpose is to assist people in those pivots. So I've seen pivots more drastic than that. Right now, we just, one of the students I knew and was a student ambassador for us, she just made the pivot from being a professional ballerina into management consulting. So you do see a lot of big changes, but drawing upon the skills of your past experiences and letting it inform new ones. And our professional resources, our clubs, and our career management center are here to help you with that transition.
Awesome. I love it. So cool. So from another anonymous attendee, any advice for reapplicants who were waitlisted then rejected in a previous cycle?
Sure. So I would say that, the first thing I want to note is that if you were waitlisted, there was clearly something about your application that spoke to the admissions committee, interested them, and they wanted to take a further review at. We receive a lot of applications, and I will say that we look upon reapplicants really favorably. The advantage of being a reapplicant is that the application is not as long. It is only one essay as opposed to the three. It asks you, what have you done to strengthen your candidacy since you last submitted an application? Have your goals changed at all? If they have, what are they? If they haven't, what have you been working on to prepare yourself for that? And so I think that one essay is an advantage. I, wish you the best of luck as you prepare those reapplication materials.
Thank you. Now from Caden, more of an admissions question. So I'm just wondering, is the GRE or GMAT score mandatory for CBS if someone has already received a quantitative master degree, for example, from a prestigious school within the States with a high GPA?
Yes, we do require a standardized test score. It is up to you whether it's a GMAT, GRE, or executive assessment. But we do require at least one test score for your application to be complete. And if you submit multiple, we will only take in your highest score into account.
All right, terrific. Thank you. So here's a good one from Nikhil. How can I best align my short-term goals, and why CBS answers to stand out early in the process?
So I think as long as it's truly authentic to what you want to do, we can usually tell if someone is telling us what they think we want to hear, but it's not really what they're passionate about. And that becomes, I think, increasingly clear in an interview too. So, we have people coming in with really different interests, right? We have students with marketing backgrounds and tech backgrounds and media entertainment and healthcare, so and sustainability, lots of really different backgrounds that help inform the classroom experience. I would say really ask yourself, like, what am I using this MBA for? What is the ideal function that I'm going to have after MBA? Why am I excited about this next step? And I think that passion will speak for itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So from Miata, we have, could you please share a few details on the offerings of your JD MBA program? And then maybe even some other joint programs that are offered as well, please.
Yes. So there are two different dual degree programs that only require one application. So I do want to highlight both of those. The first is going to be that JD MBA. That's a 3-year program that's a partnership with Columbia Law School. So you would submit one application and it would be reviewed by both our team at CBS as well as the law school admissions committee. You spend your first full year at Columbia Law School in this program. The 1L is pretty intensive, so you'll be over there. And then after that, you would do a mix of electives between both. And there's a small but mighty cohort completes the JD MBA together, and you'd be fully immersed in both school communities. We also have an MBA XMS, so this is a 2-year program that's where you earn both the MBA and an MS in applied engineering. And so this is a partnership with Columbia's engineering school, CEAS. This is also a really strong opportunity to submit one application, and within 2 years, you earn 2 degrees. And this is usually a good step for people who are looking to move into product management or are inspiring tech entrepreneurs. We get a lot of entrepreneurs in this crowd as well. And similarly, you will take electives from both schools. You'll start off your first semester at the engineering school, and then your second semester will be entirely with us. And then after that, you get the flexibility of choosing whichever electives interest you. We also have other dual degrees available. So if there was another program within the Columbia umbrella that, attracts you, you can submit an application and also, apply for a dual degree. The only caveat is that you will be applying to both graduate programs separately and being reviewed separately. And then if you're offered admission to both programs, then they would be combined to be that dual degree.
Awesome. Great. And question from Navdeep, too good to pass up on as long as it's okay with you, Josie, for one more at the end. So I'd
Absolutely.
like to understand about the uniqueness of the CBS experience. What are some things that students only realize about Columbia after being immersed in it? Things you can't fully grasp from outside, but only experience as a student. Great question.
And I think if you want a student perspective, I really recommend reaching out to one of our student ambassadors. You can just Google contact a student for Columbia Business School and get their answer. But after some years of talking to students and talking to alumni and hearing their perspectives, I think whether or not they're coming from New York, they had already been in New York, or they're coming from somewhere else in the world moving here. I think the location offers something really unique to the experience of being immersed in this bustling city with so many different industry capitals. But I also think that there's something so unique about being on our business school campus where everyone around you is a business student or a faculty member, and you get really immersed in the MBA experience. I hear alumni talk to me all the time about how they expected to kind of, when they thought they'd go to class and then, kind of have their life on the side. And those 2 years were really all MBA. So they would, travel the world with their MBA classmates. They would, be in class all day and then be with them doing different club events or activities at night. And so it really is an immersive and intensive experience that, people look back on years later and just are really grateful for.
Super cool. Love it. Great way to finish it out, everyone. So thank you so much for the awesome presentation, Josie. And thank you everyone who attended today and for providing some awesome questions. So wish you all great success in your future endeavors. As long as you don't have anything to add, Josie, we'll end it. If you do, awesome.
Yeah, I'd say thank you so much to everyone. If you have additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to our office here. And thank you, Braden, for a great session.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.